We're live yet?
We are live now, right now.
We're live.
So, that brings up a question for me, Ron, is have you ever thought about writing a book? I've had, many of our friends have written books here recently. And I had someone ask the other day, it's like, John, when are you going to write a book?
I thought you were going to say people were asking you, when is Ron going to write a book?
No, actually, they asked me more of, when is Ron going to be, on the show again, because they enjoy, they enjoy how much it is like, but it's just Ron. I mean, Ron's a friend of mine, and he's been, I've known him forever,
Right.
But he's got such great information. It's like, but it's just Ron. He's like one of the guys.
I'm one of the guys.
Yeah.
One of the guys. I'm the grandfather you never had.
That movie, Bad Grandpa?
Your bad grandpa. A grumpy old man.
Yeah, he's on those.
So, in answer to your question, see, the reason I keep writing for Disc Jockey News is eventually I'll have enough stuff that I've written that I can turn it into a book.
And there have been some months you've written 2 chapters.
There has been. Yeah. And actually I do want, on a serious note, yes, I do want to write a book. I found out the other day, though, for people that are interested that maybe do public speaking or considering doing public speaking, I didn't even think about being able to repurpose a presentation into a book. Did you know you could do that?
Oh, certainly.
I had no idea. Somebody suggested that to me the other day and said, you need to take your presentations and then you have them converted into a booklet and you can sell a booklet.
Yeah.
But I don't know, though. I mean, to me, I guess if I were presenting on facts and figures, it'd be one thing, but you would lose a lot of it'd be like, I don't know. It'd be like trying to read the script for some great movie. And I think you get lost in the words rather than the action on the screen. So I don't know.
So you're saying when you were up there speaking, there's a lot of action on the screen.
There is. There's a lot of passion.
There is passion.
Very passionate, man.
There is, especially when you were talking, we can refer back to some of those videos when you spoke up here and you were talking about the tomahawk chop.
Oh, yeah. And how I lost that. That was a stupid move, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Moments on video where you go, oh man, that was dumb.
We've always had those.
I think I was getting ready to speak at Mobile Beat, at Wedding MBA a year or so ago, just before the World Series, and I wanted to make some comment from the stage about the World Series, about how we were going to win, and I was afraid I would jinx it. And they won that year, but I after the tomahawk chop thing taught me a valuable lesson. Never count your eggs before they're hatched.
Especially when it comes to sports.
Especially when it comes to sports. But then the Royals this year are going to do really good. So
is this the every other year thing, or is that the?
I'm hoping it's the every other year thing. Maybe Randy Bartlett's Giants and the Royals will hook up in the series this year again, and only the outcome will be a little bit different. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are going to be talking about inspiration, performance, ideas, and all sorts of stuff. Some of them might actually make some sense.
Whatever is on your little mind, we're going to talk about it. Post your questions.
Exactly. So if you do have questions, you can please put those in the chat below. We've got a few people in the chat. I think I see Ian and
hey,
Williams.
Ian, how are you? Who else?
Williams with us, and a couple of others.
Hey, William.
We've got about 10 there that are in the chat room with us, so they're coming in.
Hello, you other 10.
Yeah. Thank you. So
how come Ian gets top billing and everybody else is
because he posted the most recent, and he posted the most.
Okay.
And he posted that anyone can write a book.
He said write a book to you?
Well, he said he heard that anyone can write a book.
Yeah. Well, my book is going to be mainly pictures. So, it'll be, you look at the pictures.
Yeah, and that's basically what he's saying, a book filled with blank pages. It could be on the Amazon's bestseller list. Yeah. That's what we strive for someday. We'll be that way.
Tell Ian I've got a copy already for him, and I'll sell it to him right now.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just got to go to the store and buy that ream of paper, put a staple in it, and it's yours.
It's yours.
It's great.
But wait, if you order today, I'll send you 2 copies. Just pay the extra shipping.
One to share.
One to share.
So let's talk a little bit about where a person finds their inspiration when it comes to. And this is an area in which I probably have struggled, and it may not be even where you were thinking about initially going, but that after a period of time, we've been in this industry, and you can kind of start to feel a little flat. because you've done the same thing over and over. And how do you get inspired and such to keep the creative juices flowing?
Do things that scare the heck out of you. Go out there and come up with something that you just don't know how it's going to fly. And take a chance. I mean, as long as it's not going to, I mean, obviously you don't want to do something crazy at a wedding, but I mean, as far as offering ideas to a couple, I mean, it never hurts to go out on a limb and offer something that may be way out there beyond anything that you're accustomed to doing in the past. Just to get a feel for if they might, who knows, they might be willing to go along with it as well. I mean, we all learn, it would be easy to say, wouldn't it be nice to be able to say, we've tried everything in front of an audience before we take it in front of an audience. That's almost impossible to do, I think. I mean,
yeah, kind of, sort of.
You have to have the ability to at least do it once. I mean, it's kind of like that first job. I mean, you got to get that first job in order to get hired for the second job. So find things that scare you. I've talked a lot in the past about improv, and I still, to this day, I'm still doing improv training, and right now I'm involved in workshops. And I would say to you, if you want to find inspiration, one of the greatest, easiest, least expensive ways to do it is to sign up for an improv class in your area, because it forces you to think out. I hate the term, think outside the box.
Right.
It just forces you to do it. You don't have a choice. But here's the cool thing is once you start doing that, then it's like, I have to be out there. I have to explore. I have to try something different. You have to, your body needs it. That's why I keep doing improv training, is because it's become something of an addiction to me. I gave up smoking and now I do improv. So
which one's more dangerous for your health?
Well, I have a story I can tell you later. But at any rate, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of a place to start. Is to challenge yourself to do something you've never done before. If you don't want to do something in front of an audience, just challenge yourself to do something different in your office. I'm left-handed. Sometimes it's fun. Have you ever tried to write with the other hand?
Yes,
just to see where your mind takes you while you're in the process of trying to write with an opposite hand. Your brain starts kind of messing with you a little bit, and it challenges you to move. And the more you do it, the more you want to get better at it. It seems like. I mean, and that seems like a crazy thing, but that's a great place. That's a great place to start as well. It's just something as simple as writing with the opposite hand.
And it's so bad. I've tried that when I was younger, and I had hurt my right hand in a sporting event, and I thought, if I hurt it permanently, I would have to learn how to write left-handed. So I decided to spend about a week doing that, and everything I could do left-handed and such. And yeah, by the end of the week, you could actually read what I was writing, which is almost better than I could write with my right hand. But anyway.
Well, and here's another little exercise I think is fun, and it's just something I'm speaking about in just a few weeks. It's the client experience demystified. But one of the things I'm talking about in this story, and actually I just wrote about it in a publication. Oh, Distracting News. I talk about if you want to find inspiration, sit down and write the story of your customer's journey through your business, through every step along the way of your business, from that first sales consultation. How do you want them to feel? How do you want them to react? How do you want them to respond? How do you want them to feel at the end of that sales consultation? And then how do you want them to feel during that planning process? What emotions do you want to be able to connect with? And moving into the last part of their connection with you, working with you through the party, and then afterwards. If you can, I've been writing for Distracting News for a long time, and I'm just really now starting to learn how to write. I mean, it's hard. I got to tell you, it's really hard. But here's the cool thing: if you stay with it, it gets easier. But if you write this story, and the beauty of writing this story is you'll find inspiration as you write it. And especially if you go, well, wait a minute, I want them to feel this, but they're not feeling this. Why are they not feeling this? Well, because I'm not doing this. Mm-hmm. And in order for them to feel this, I'm going to have to do that thing. It should be so crystal clear, this story, from beginning with a very distinct beginning, middle, and end, that you could share it with anybody and say, give it to well, you don't really want to give it to a customer, but give it to a team member, somebody that works with you, mm-hmm. or to another wedding professional, and say, this is what it's like to do business with me. This is what it's like for a customer to do business with me. Imagine if somebody were filming that time that they're spending with you. Instead of imagining that filming, write it out.
Right.
So that you're actually seeing what it is you want them to enjoy, what you want them to experience, rather than what they actually did experience. I hope I'm.
It makes really good sense, because I could see where that process, you would find holes in your system that
Sure.
really wouldn't be uncovered until you were actually putting yourself mentally into their shoes and experiencing what's being put into their laps. And you're like, wait a second. I'm not feeling as much love, as you mentioned, as I thought I would here. Maybe I need to start sending them a peanut butter sandwich. Then they'd feel more love.
Absolutely. Well, and it doesn't hurt to do the unexpected at times. Just not necessarily at a wedding, but during the process of planning for an event. There's nothing wrong with doing something unexpected if it's to the benefit of the couple, exceeding expectations, if you will. I've spoken about in the past, and maybe people are tired of hearing it, but like for me, the planning process for me, the planning session, the planning meeting for me is a 2 to 3 hour event. It just depends on if I'm involved in the ceremony or not. But one of the things that I do, just kind of as an unexpected, is to order pizza before the mm-hmm. client arrives, because I know they're coming from work and they haven't eaten yet. And instead of having them worrying about, I want to go eat, I want them focused on the meeting at hand. And then there's another little thing about this that I discovered just by accident, and is that people seem to share more information over a meal than they do just in a face-to-face conversation. I don't know what it is about sharing a meal together that makes people share more personal details about themselves. And through those personal details, two things happen. One, I'm able to make more personal connection, which is really important to me. And then the second thing is I may find out information I wouldn't have found out had I not done this little thing. It cost $20. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can go on Papa John's, go online, you can get a 40% off coupon for 2 pizzas, $20, $25 with tip. So it really, there's not a whole lot expense to it, but it's the little things that matter most to the customers, the little things. And if you're taking care of them just simply by feeding them, that counts. That will garner you big points.
Mm-hmm. Certainly would. And I think the kind of information is probably that you're getting from that meeting when you're breaking bread with them, we'll call it, is information you probably wouldn't get at other times. And yet that's the goal that's going to help you customize or have that exact moment when something clicks at the reception, and you can be in that moment and know why that moment's important and engage that moment with the audience and with the couple. And that's when the people are going to come up and say, wow, are you a friend of the family?
Absolutely. And that to me is the greatest compliment. How long have you known the couple?
Yeah.
That's one of the greatest compliments I ever get. I love that. I love the hug at the end of the night from the bride because of that relationship. I mean, if I didn't, you don't have that, you may still get the hug. Who knows? But at least I increase my odds, because that to me is as good as a standing ovation. I would much rather have the hug than a standing ovation.
Yeah.
But kind of stepping back just a little bit, just to bring it back to a little bit more basics, because I want to move forward after the pizza thing and talk a little more about that. But let's come back to that in a second. We were talking about writing with the right hand. I mean, I think I asked the question one time a couple of years ago on Facebook. What do you do to find inspiration? Where do you go when you need inspiration and you can't find it? And for me, and I got all sorts of different answers, and I think it's different for different people. Some people like putting on the headphones and listening to music. Other people like to engross themselves in a book. or poetry. For me, it's walking. I love to walk. Some people love to jog. I know somebody like Mike Walter, he likes to run. And he probably does a lot of thinking in the process of that running. I'm the same way with walking. I love to go out and take a walk, take off the headphones, and just walk in sync. And if I'm writing a presentation or working on a script for a love story, it's one of the greatest ways to shake loose some ideas that for some reason I can't. I know they're this close. If I go outside and walk, I'm going to be able to pull that idea out, and and as I start talking to myself, and people drive by, they go, "Why is that old guy talking to himself?" Maybe we should make sure he's not run away from the home. So, but if you go out and walk and just be in your own head and start listening to what's coming out, you'd be amazed at the inspiration that you can come up with. But I want to go. As I said, it's different for different folks.
I would agree. Yeah.
Going back to the more complex idea of finding inspiration. I talked about sharing a meal with a couple. I still to this day, and I've encouraged it 100 times, and I'll encourage it 100 times more. Whether you do love stories, personalized wedding and party introductions, any of that, it doesn't matter. If you're a DJ that is the most, and nothing wrong, if you're the most basic DJ in the world, that you know what, all I care about is the simple planning, and I'm going to take my stuff, I'm going to do that 4 or 5 hours. I would say to you, do yourself a favor and invest at least 45 minutes to an hour before an event, just getting to know the couple. If you want to keep it basic, that's fine. But just get to know who they are. Because even if you're the most basic DJ in the world, all of a sudden you're going to find inspiration in, well, wow, they told me something that I could actually do this for. Or they told me something I could do this for. And then the next thing you know, it's kind of like improv. Next thing you know, you're gonna say, wow, how can I top what I did at that last wedding? And how can I top this? And how can I top that? And all of a sudden now, you're no longer the most basic DJ in the world out there. You're actually doing the entertainment side of what it is, making those personal connections, the touches, engaging guests, forcing them to pay attention to what's going on, and putting the focus on the bride and groom.
And I think that's a critical thing for those who are doing something that is a little bit wanting to be more on a simple side,
right?
Because not everyone is going to do this super elaborate thing. Because
you don't have to.
Some people have got a job, or they're doing multiple jobs, but that connection, that getting to know them, and it can be done a variety of different ways. I mean, you can spend part of that 45 minutes stalking them to a point on their social media, and that tells you an awful lot about a person if you can see all that information these days.
Well, but John, I mean, it's not enough to stalk. You have developing a relationship, even if you don't want to do all of the, let's just call it buzzers and bells. Even if you don't want to do the buzzers and bells, having that 45-minute conversation with a couple, really getting to know who they are, not just asking questions, having a conversation that draws out everything there is to know about their relationship and their personality. But if you do that, then you're developing a trust with the couple. They know you. If you show any inkling of caring, then they're going to trust you. Yeah. And the more they trust you, the more they're going to let you do what it is that you're trained to do, and the way that you're trained to do it to their benefit. They're going to trust you enough to know that you have their best interest at heart. And that's why, again, I detest the term client anymore. Every customer, every client we work with is really our creative partner, regardless of how much or how little you do for your creative partner. Because without them feeding you information, you can't do some of the things that they want you to do. Otherwise, you're guessing, and who wants to guess?
Because it isn't going to work half the time, unfortunately.
No. I tried it once.
Yeah, once.
Yeah.
Okay, just watching.
Somebody have a question? Does Ian have a question? Because
They're chatting in the chat room.
focus on us, guys.
William is was putting together a marketing packet. Must be doing a Facebook ad and such, and they were just kind of talking a little bit about that, and then they were wondering about some other a couple of other things here.
So they're not even watching me?
No, they are watching you. And they were wondering if we were live or if it was recorded. And this is indeed live here. So
we're live, yeah.
Yeah, we are definitely live. Definitely live.
Yeah, we actually set this up early enough because my bedtime is shortly after we're off the air. So anything after 8:00 we have to record. So.
Yeah, exactly. And that's funny. And then of course on the other side, there's some of the guys are like, you want to go on at 8 at night? I'm not doing anything till 10.
It's like if you're in Vegas. For me, Vegas is like I'm in my room watching TV. I don't know. I just there's something about eating a meal at 10:00 at night in Vegas. It's like, that's midnight at home. Yeah. But I digress.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
So we're talking about a creative
inspiration
and where the person gets their creativity. So we talked about the creative partner with our couples.
Right.
What about others? You talked about kind of improv and going from that, but let's talk about other sources of where you can, obviously when you go to Disney, you're walking around with your mental tablet, looking at things and watching how people interact and engage, and you're taking mental notes for things.
I used to, yeah.
So
I invested the first few years of going to Disney just doing that. I mean, it was so hard. Silly as it sounds. I mean, my wife is going, you're supposed to be enjoying yourself. But I did. I made note of everything that was going on around me and taking it in and saying, okay, so how can I twist this, or how can I adapt this to my business, or how can I make this work? It just, as I said, inspiration is a number of one of my favorite books. I don't know if I've ever pointed this one out to you or not, John. One of my favorite books is a book called Hatch. It's brainstorming. It was written by, actually, since you were talking about Disney, it was written by a former Disney Imagineer. Mm-hmm. And he talks about what I really like about this book, and thanks Matt Martindale for turning me onto this book a couple of years ago. But the cool thing about this book, it talks about taking your imagination to the extreme in order to find elements of inspiration that you can actually work with. In other words, when most people sit around and they brainstorm, they do it so that they maybe gather a group of people together and everybody just kind of throws in their idea, and then somebody will pick the idea that's either the cheapest or the easiest or both, rather than really kind of delving into what could happen. And typically those people wind up sitting around going, why didn't our idea work any better than we thought it would? Well, it's because you pick the easiest and you pick the cheapest way out. And I'm not suggesting either that you have to spend a lot of money. But what I am suggesting, and what C. McNair Wilson teaches in his book Hatch, is he talks about being able to take an idea totally out of the realm of our imagination. As an example, and I think I shared this with you in a phone call the other day. I was talking about, when you think about that story of how you want your customers to feel during the process. Let's just say the sales process. If you want to come up with an idea of a way to market that, how would you do it? Your sales process. How would you get them in that sales? And I might say, just a crazy idea. I might say, well, here's the deal. If you just meet with me, I'll give you 2 round-trip tickets to Hawaii. And then somebody else says, well, here, and you just build on this. These obscure ideas just keep going, and somebody else might say, you know what, if you meet with me, we're going to meet at Beyonce's house because Beyonce's a friend of mine. She's got beautiful decor, and it just makes for a great setting for having a meeting. And then somebody else builds on that what's going to happen at that meeting. Oh, we're going to have I'm going to make sure that we have champagne or this and that and the other. Anyway, by continually building on what seems to be just totally out of reach ideas, you're going to find inspiration. You're going to find things that you can actually work with. Things that maybe, okay, so maybe we aren't going to meet at Beyonce's house, but maybe because Beyonce is really into art, I think I said, maybe it'd be fun to meet, set up your meetings to meet in an art museum.
Mm-hmm.
That's something anybody could do. It's different. It's not a Starbucks. It's not a Panera. It's not a home office. You're meeting someplace where there's culture and there's art around you, and you can, it just kind of, and especially if that brings out your personality and style, I think it's a great idea if it works for you.
Right.
But again, by going for the extreme, you're going to find the little tidbits of information, the little tidbits of ideas that you could actually use.
So you're saying that you're
Absolutely.
not giving away 2 tickets to Hawaii?
No.
If I meet with you?
No, but I heard of this is serious. I'm not making this up. I remember a DJ, and I don't recall if it was here. Yeah, it must not have been here because if it was, he's not here anymore. But I remember a DJ that would send a limo after his couples for a visit to his office for the meeting.
Oh, nice.
He had a deal set up with the limo company, so they got exposure out of it, so that the couple would hopefully hire their limo company.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And they would go pick up the couple and bring them to the office. They'd have their hour or so meeting, and then they would take them home.
What a great idea! That would
I know.
Be,
I mean, how classy is that?
Well, that'd be a whole show on how to work with other vendors and connect and
here's the cool thing. Can you imagine? Okay, all right. So I'm already starting to think. I'm being inspired by this. So let's talk this through. Imagine in that limo, as that limo is being driven from the couple's house to the office, that there's a video playing of the DJ working a party. So that instead of having to spend the time in the meeting showing them footage of you at work, you're showing it to them while they're in the car.
Now you're envisioning yourself in the back seat of a taxi cab where they're showing the commercials from the city.
of an Uber. But I'm not kidding. I mean, how cool would that be? Also in the back of this limo, you would have, I don't know that you'd want to have alcohol, not everybody drinks, but you'd want to make sure that they had soft drinks and stuff or a snack or something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe have your brochure already in the car so they can be thumbing through it on their way to their meeting with you. So that they're already prepped. When they come through the door, they already have a pretty good idea of who you are. You were talking about DJs stalking people on Facebook. This would be kind of the opposite of that, allowing them an opportunity to stalk you in a sense.
Exactly. Putting all the information there.
If you want to take it further, after the meeting, have the limo take them out to, they go, you drop them at the melding pot for dinner.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just throwing out ideas. But again, I mean, there's inspiration. That's how you find inspiration. Just come up with an idea and go with it.
Yeah.
Go with the flow.
Yeah, I think that's a really a neat idea. Obviously, it's the right situation.
Let's do it, John.
Yeah.
I'll send my clients to you in a limo up in Minnesota.
That'd be great. Yeah, they'll only have to drive for X number of hours. That'd be wonderful. Right. Let's see. Ian had mentioned earlier, and you were talking about the sharing or buying the pizza and doing the pizza thing, and he of course had mentioned the long tradition of breaking bread together and how that is that building a trust and almost goes back to a biblical type of a situation. So in culture norms, that's really accepted as a sign of friendship, a sign of peace, in essence. You can call it that also.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I think that is about it. A sign of trust. And they're just chatting a little bit here. So we got about another 10, 12 minutes somewhere in that ballpark.
What do you want to talk about, John? You want to keep
Well,
going?
I want to talk. We didn't quite get into where I was hoping to at the last part.
Well, let's go.
We're looking for other inspiration now. I remember years ago, Randy Bartlett was doing one of his 1% DVDs, and he was talking about Billy Crystal when he was doing the, Oscars, I think it was, when he was the MC at the Oscars. Anyway,
Okay.
But Billy Crystal was the MC for an event, and how he was able to take some ideas and watch how Billy Crystal, as the MC of this event, was able to do different things that the other prior person who was there the year before couldn't do because he didn't have that skill set. In essence, Randy was inspired by watching a professional MC working. And I was wondering if there were other places that you have gone and you have found your inspiration going to a baseball game.
Blue Man Group. Have you ever been to a Blue Man Group?
I have not. I have watched.
Oh my gosh.
I've watched a few of them on DVD, but I've never been to one.
I've used the idea of they have the countdown at the beginning of their show. They have this countdown, and they actually have a scroll that where they just play with the audience with the scroll, and as they're counting down to the show. And they talk about, just as an example, they talk about no flash photography. And then there's like a little pause and no, we really mean it. And then there's another little pause and it talks about how, I don't know, maybe you're going to be escorted out by armed security or something to that effect. But I've kind of taken that idea. When I do a presentation, I kind of have tried to incorporate something similar. I mean, I don't do it on the scale that Blue Man Group does it, but that's kind of an inspiration for doing stuff at the beginning of my presentations, is to kind of get the audience warmed up a little bit and get them prepared for what's happening next, whether it's through a song, whether it's through text, whether it's through another video. It just depends.
And that concept is kind of, we've utilized a little bit of that
Right.
to build anticipation with what we're doing before our shows, because that is such a great tool.
Well, and you can find inspiration at a baseball game or at a football game. It just depends on what, it sometimes things just happen and you go, that was cool. How did they do that? I want to know how they did that. And I mean, when I go to Disney, I mean, I've spoken a lot about, guest service and how extraordinary that is, but some of the shows are phenomenal. I mean, they've gotten the technology now for video mapping, and for doing one of my favorite shows is Fantasmic, and there's a lot of things in that show. It's been playing at Disney Studios for years, and it was one of the very first shows where they used water for projection.
Okay.
They would create a screen with a mist of water, and they would back project it so you could see animation on it, and then a lot of lasers and a lot of bright lights at the audience. And the reason for a bright light at the audience is they could make scene changes, because you would be blinded for a second.
You can't.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it would kind of be like an instantaneous scene change. If all of a sudden the light hits you in the eyes and it moves away, something new has just happened on the stage, and you didn't even know it happened. I mean, there it is. There are all sorts of little things about the parades, the video mapping now. Man, God, that thing is
incredible.
I know Michael Anderson out of California has been doing a lot of that with wedding cakes, and that's just absolutely phenomenal. The inspiration that you can come up with for something like that. But again, listening to a customer, the couple that you're working with, and finding out more about them, so that if you're doing something like this, video mapping, you're doing something that is solely appropriate to them.
Yeah.
Technology is awesome.
It is. And not only because we can do an awful lot, but we can look and search around the world and find information and inspiration for what we are and what we do.
Yeah.
Okay. Video links were fixed there.
So where do you find inspiration, John?
I really spend a lot of time looking, following different YouTube channels. But I'm looking for not so much inspiration and thoughts for my wedding performances, but more for what we're doing with our videos and on the channels. So I will spend time looking at how other people are doing reviews of gear, and how other people are doing their presentations, and how they're doing their jump edits, if they're doing that type of a little jump cuts in their videos, and seeing which things are some things that are appealing to me. Because if I look at it and it's like, I think that's stupid, I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to be able to do it and do it well. And I find some things that I'll look at and say, I like that. I like what they did with that. And I think we can implement a version of that with what we do. And sometimes no.
And I do something similar when I present. I look at all sorts of videos like TED Talks. I love following Simon Sinek, so I watch his videos just because not to for what they're saying so much as their style.
Yes,
I'm looking at presentation style. How are they delivering? Kind of like going back to what you were talking about with Randy Bartlett and the Billy Crystal. And I think one of the videos, and he may have shown the Academy Awards video, but I know he uses a video with Billy Crystal and the guy that was in Goodfellas that they were at a baseball stadium making announcements about baseball players, and one of them yells every time he'd get on the mic. He was like yelling the name of whoever he was introducing, whereas Billy Crystal was more it was just very articulate, and he said it from the diaphragm, and there's no yelling to it. It was just the style. And I think that's one of the things that Randy might have been talking about, is learning from watching somebody like Billy Crystal and how they speak on a microphone. That helps us, for those of us who aren't used to working on microphones, learn how to get better. Watching people that perfect that art.
Yes, and I believe I've had a few people who have talked about, especially with microphone skills, and how his name just escaped me, from American Idol. The young man there.
That hosted?
Yeah.
The guy Ryan Seacrest.
Ryan Seacrest, yes, that he actually is a very good microphone user when it comes to being able to be an MC and speak to an audience that way.
Absolutely.
And someone was saying how good he was, and I think it's really one of those situations that you didn't realize how good he was until you've seen some bad people. It's kind of like when they're really good, it goes by unnoticed because it just seems so natural and it just seems so comfortable. But when you run into somebody bad, you're like, oh my God, that's horrible.
Well, and I think you're also talking about areas of other places where people can find inspiration they would never even think that they would find it. And I know it's going to sound like a weird transition here, but in training and learning how, like with Randy's microphone training workshop, learning how to actually speak on a microphone, the inspiration that you can get from something just of that. There's something about learning something new that makes the brain go, I want to know more stuff. Teach me more.
Sure.
You just can't. It's like potato chips. You can't eat just one. Go to one workshop, you'll want to go to another. You want to go to and meet with improv. I mean, it's become an addiction of sorts, and it's great because it's local. I can do it every week, but there's if you go to these workshops, whether it's Randy's or Mark Farrell's or Bill Herman's or whoever, whatever you learn is going to inspire you to be even better. It's going to also inspire you to find more inspiration to do better things. If you want to be extraordinary, you have to do extraordinary things.
Yeah.
I'm going to write a song by that title.
Will it be a country song?
God, no. It'll be a polka.
It'll be a polka. That one just hit Reggie and that would make him smile.
Yeah, there you go. And I'm all about making Reggie smile.
Well, great. Thank you, Ron, for coming on and sharing some thoughts and such.
Today.
I think, yeah,
I always come here and I hope I'm sharing something that's of value. I hope you all learned something.
Yeah, I hope just a little bit of the behind the scenes. I think is probably more of what we were after with tonight's talking.
So, Ian, if you're listening, give me a little thumbs up on the Facebook page. Let me know all is right with the world. They're clicking that out there. Oh, cool.
Now, so.
Cool. See, life is good. Now I can sleep tonight.
Michael Thomas said that was in the introduction of Cal Ripken. I remember. I remember it was a baseball. There was a couple of different ones.
And it's Ray Liotta was the other guy that was doing the introduction.
There we go. Yes.
See what happens if you think about it for a little bit. It'll come to mind.
Exactly. Once we're not on camera and then it's like, oh yeah, that's that guy. Oh yeah, Ryan Seacrest. That's exactly who that was. And all those different things that come up. So
I'm going to see everybody at Arm DJs in June, by the way.
yeah, that's coming up in mid-June. You can go to armdjs.com and check that out.
May I also plug my new group page?
Oh yeah. That's right. I was going to.
Too late anyway.
I wanted to talk about that a little bit. We got a couple minutes yet.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
My new group page is inspirimaginativity.com. Inspirimaginativity.com. It's inspiration, imagination, and creativity. So that'll help you spell it. I would love to have you join. It's a little bit different than most group pages. I know everybody says that. Mine is the purpose of the group page is just to be able to be like a creative think tank, to come and share creative ideas, ask questions as it relates to some creative task you're working on, or to help someone else out with some creative task that they're working on. We're a really young group. I want it to be diverse. I want it to any business professional can join. I don't really care if they're a DJ or a wedding professional. Any business owner can jump on. I want that diversity of having all these different ideas coming from different fields. So go on Facebook. It's inspirimaginativity.com. And actually, after John posts this video, I'll go and I'll put it in the comments section. I'll put I'll put the link so that you can find it real easy. But I would love to have all of you that are watching tonight join us. So.
Yeah. And how did you come up with, were you watching an episode of How I Met Your Mother when they were creating showing that they were very interesting by creating new words? And
no, it's funny because a couple of years ago I did a presentation in Vegas for Wedding MBA called Reignite Your Creativity, How to Overcome Inspiration Burnout. And I was, like most presenters, I was posting something on Facebook and it came to me. I posted something about inspiration, imagination, and creativity. And then all of a sudden I just decided inspirimagine, and it just kind of all fell together, and it became a hashtag. And the next thing I know, it became kind of like a brand for me. And actually the next step for me at Wedding MBA this year, I'm doing a presentation called Imagination Station, Creativity Lab for Wedding Pros. And I'm going to be introducing, I'm giving you all a sneak peek, I'm going to be introducing the Inspirimaginativity Institute.
Cool.
For higher learning.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll have diplomas and everything.
Wow.
So
will you serve cookies?
Yes, and we're going to have a football team and a baseball team.
Nice.
And yeah. And you can get a scholarship. But no, seriously, Inspirimaginativity Institute is going to be something I'm working on for Wedding MBA. You heard it first here. My presentation in Vegas for Wedding MBA, I guarantee you, is going to be off the charts. The inspiration and imagination is already starting to flow, and it's going to be an awesome presentation. I can't wait. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because as I was just telling Ron before, Lori and I are going to be heading down to Wedding MBA this year. Yeah,
we're all rooming together.
It'll be awesome. Ron, thank you once again, my friend. We will catch up with you later. In the description below, do a refresh, gang, because the links weren't exactly right. So during the video, I fixed the links in the description. So refresh the video, and you'll be able to go down and click the second show, and we'll be back in about 15 minutes with Larry Williams tonight.
Royals.
Woohoo! Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.